Okay, hopefully quite a few of you have seen the video I've done showing how each of the drivers took Copse Corner on that first lap of the Silverstone Grand Prix. We had the usual Collins in the comments section, uh, making their objections, making comments about dirty air, for which I did do a reactionary video, but I think I used the C word too many times, so I might refine that before putting it out. Anyway, the last one before we analyse the Sky vilification of Sir Lewis Hamilton for the incident on lap 1 of the Silverstone Grand Prix. A funny thing happened the day before. The first ever sprint race in Formula 1. So, let's have a look what happened. Lewis Hamilton set the pole position time. Okay, but the result of the sprint race would determine the grid for the Grand Prix. So on that off the line, Max Verstappen beat Lewis Hamilton into the first corner and then was in the lead of the sprint. So when they come round on lap 1 to Copse Corner, here are the onboards. Now, they show the front view of Max's car up until this point, but immediately from about here onwards, they switch to the rear viewing camera. So we can't make direct comparisons and we cannot see Max's steering inputs to make comparisons between what happened in the sprint and what happened in the main race. But we'll take you through the onboards that are available to us from the Saturday sprint race. So here we go. Again, played at 1/4 speed, but you can still hear the acceleration of the car, the engine speed, even though on this particular part for Max, we can't see the steering input. Here we go. So it'll be, here we go. It's me playing it at 1/4 speed, hence the slight delay. Switch to rear view. Look at the position of Max's car heading down the straight. So he's fully over to the left-hand side at this stage. He will try to move to defend to try to prevent Lewis from going up the inside. So Lewis puts a small dummy in to keep him there and then goes for the outside. So at that point there, the cars are pretty much level. Pretty much level. And in fact, definitely level by in that next frame or so as Lewis's car on the right hand side appeared to go a bit further forward. Definitely level there. Sparks flying from the back of the cars. So, look what's happening now. Look what Lewis has done. Is he's back. Now if we replay this, and again listen to it this time, and also bear in mind that there's a key difference. This is a 17 lap race, not a 52 lap race. So the car is fueled for 17 laps, not 52 laps. So it would be carrying a third of the weight of fuel. Okay, and you detected the change of engine note as that car slightly backed out, but actually he still stayed on it, didn't he? Because you know it's Max Verstappen and he doesn't back out. So, from Lewis's perspective, sees Max move to defend slightly, so acts to go that way and then comes back. 50 board, ever so slightly ahead, perhaps at this stage, if not level to ever so slightly ahead. But there is a car on the inside, entitled to the inside line. No issues there. Backs out. You can hear it. You can see it. Hence why Max's car shoots ahead. Lewis backs out because he needs to adjust his speed to a speed that can make it around this corner on this line. So we'll replay that. So Lewis backs out. So let's listen to some of the commentary from Brundle and Crofty for that first lap of the sprint.
And down towards Copse we're going to head now on this old pit straight. Can Hamilton try and get back ahead of Max Verstappen, and he's trying to get a slipstream as well. Hamilton's going to try and dance around the outside. Verstappen stays ahead. British crowd roaring their approval for this duel on the first lap of 17.
Fastest man in qualifying yesterday down the straight, Lewis Hamilton. Slowest man, Max Verstappen. He's carrying a lot more downforce. He needs to get out of these corners, and actually that sort of half move there of Lewis has cost him ground.
So, fastest man on the straights through the speed traps in qualifying, because he set the pole position time as well, Lewis Hamilton. Slowest man down the straights, Max Verstappen. The previous Grand Prix, the Austrian Grand Prix, they talked about Lando Norris having great straight line speed in that McLaren, which was going to be very useful for him that afternoon. So this is what they tell us on the Saturday at the sprint race. They tell us that Lewis is the fastest car. There's then a crash on lap 1, and they tried to make out that Lewis's strategy depended entirely on him being able to make it past Max Verstappen on lap 1, and that had he not been able to do that, then his strategy wouldn't have worked, and therefore he was so desperate to make it happen on lap 1. It was a reckless attempt to overtake, because that's what it all depended on lap 1. That is how they painted the picture on the Sunday, after telling us this on the Saturday. Now, how did that race finish up? So we're nearing the end, lap 16 of 17, and Martin shares this valuable insight with us.
And, we've got to race this tomorrow. So, unsurprisingly, I think, as we move into the last 2 or 3 laps, your risk reward, your damage limitation or whatever, now the grid is starting to be set for tomorrow. How many chances do you? I think you'd go for a 60-70% certain move, but you wouldn't go for a 50-50 or less. It would be crazy to do that.
Ted.
So what we're saying, Martin, is this is a sprint race, first one ever. You get 3 points for winning it, 2 points for coming second, 1 point for coming third. If you win it, you start on pole for the Grand Prix. The Grand Prix where there's 25 points up for grabs, 26 if you get the fastest lap, or 18 points. There's a much bigger differential there. Okay, so really the event that you want to win is the Grand Prix. In an event where it dictates the grid for that Grand Prix, there's a difference of 3 points to 2 points to 1 point, so there's only a 1 point difference between first and second. Are you going to risk going for a move, and especially against an opponent that you know is going to drive you off the track if they get the opportunity to? Would you bother risking a manoeuvre like that in this sort of event that could potentially crash you out of the sprint event, relegating you to the back of the grid for the Grand Prix, your home Grand Prix, the one that you really would like to win because it's your home Grand Prix, but also a Grand Prix that you want to win because you want to pick up the 25 points and are not too bothered about the difference between 3 points for winning the sprint or 2 points for coming second in the sprint. But you're more bothered about 25 points for winning the Grand Prix or the 18 points for second in the Grand Prix. So what we're saying is, how hard have each of these drivers tried in that sprint event? Bearing in mind, Lewis Hamilton's apparently his strategy in the Grand Prix, it's all or nothing on that first lap. Because if he can't pass Max on the first lap, his whole race is obliterated. How does 17 laps end of the sprint?
On this Saturday afternoon, Max Verstappen heads into Stowe in the lead of this sprint. Lewis Hamilton won the qualifying session yesterday. The qualifying sprint on this Saturday goes to Max Verstappen for the 4th race in a row in 2021. Verstappen's going to be on pole. He sprints home to take the sprint on this Saturday. Red Bull with the victory and 3 championship points for the championship leader. Hamilton second. Bottas comes home third. Charles Leclerc for the 4th race running, 4th race this season, will start 4th on the grid.
So, as always, Crofty likes to hype it up about the notion of for the 4th race running. Well, we had the French Grand Prix where Max Verstappen went off after the first turn, didn't rejoin the track correctly, avoided being given a penalty. No further action required when anything requires consideration of a Red Bull car, or certainly Max's car, and managed to overtake Lewis Hamilton for the win with about a lap and a half to go. And then we had 2 races at the Red Bull Ring in Austria, a track which favours that Red Bull. So we now come to Silverstone, where it's a sprint race, so it's not really a Grand Prix, so it's not really, you can't really label it the same level of achievement as winning 3 other Grand Prix. But, you know, you try and you put forward that notion that, oh, look at what we are seeing, this now level of dominance. But we've just seen Hamilton set what would be the pole position time, even though the pole position is now determined differently due to this new sprint format. This is the British Grand Prix, Hamilton's home event, where both Hamilton and Mercedes will be highly motivated. So, you know, we know that despite what may have happened before, because we've seen this time and time again, this is a different event. Let's see what happens here. Well, this is what does happen here. On that first lap, we have 2 cars going down a straight. We have a car that's in the lead and a car that looks to overtake him. Let's have a look. Again, at quarter speed. We look in our mirror. We then squeeze to the right of the track. The challenging car comes into view. What board is that? Is that the 150 board? It's a bit blurry. Yeah, it's a 150 board. We can hear the engine tone. We can see that just before I stopped it, the rear wheel of Hamilton's car became level with the front wheel of Verstappen's car. That's more than half a car length ahead. What does the inside car have to do at a corner? It has to take a tighter line knowing that there's a car on the outside that's entitled to be there. How do you take a tighter line at a corner? Well, you have to be travelling at a slower speed. So if you're travelling at a slower speed, are you going to now make gains on that car that's on the outside? Oh, we've managed to overtake it. What's happened there? Oh, we've not slowed as much. And now we're drifting away from the curb. Our car is carrying on straight rather than going off to the left around this corner. Where's that apex disappearing? Let's just have a look at the orange markers around that curb. See them 2 orange markers on the left right there? This is how far Max is away from those. Let's have a look. and we're hitting this side of the track at the beginning of where the curbs start. That white mark there is where the start of those curbs are, completely shutting off Lewis Hamilton. Let's have a look from Lewis's perspective. Okay, here it goes from Lewis's perspective. The squeeze starting to come. You can see that car creeping across, squeezing Hamilton. Look at that distance between Hamilton's front tyre and the edge of the track. There's the 100 now. He's got more than half a car length ahead. Hamilton should be entitled to the corner. Verstappen should be yielding. Does Hamilton cut across to clip this curb in to try and make the apex of the corner? Or does he realise that there's a car up the inside that's not going to yield? As always, there's a car up the inside that is not going to yield. But the strap-on fanboy will want this both ways. When you're the car on the inside, you can just fuck your car up the inside and send it into the corner. But when you're on the outside, you can just fuck your car down the outside and send it into the corner. You like it both ways, don't you, strap-on fanboys? You like it both ways and you think you're right both ways, don't you? So when strap-on's on the inside at this corner, it's fine for him to stay on the gas and just fuck it up the inside. But when he's on the outside at Cops, it's fine for him to just fuck it up the outside and stay on the gas there as well, is it? And cut across the line of the car on the inside. Is Lewis Hamilton cutting across the line of the car on the inside? Or are you going to make some other bullshit excuse now? There's always another reason from you guys. Always another reason. Look at how Lewis Hamilton is staying wide, because he knows he's got a prick on his inside that's not going to slow down. Oh, there he is, look. Lewis wants to be turning round this corner now. And there's the curbing start. Let's have a look how another car might take this corner. So this is Charles Leclerc in third in that race. Let's have a look. See, strap on, pushing Hamilton to the right of the track. $100-meter board. It was there, it was the 150 before. Next one's the 50 coming up. Look at the line that Leclerc now takes into this corner. See his proximity to the curb as we go around. Look out for them orange markers on the inside of the curb. There's only 2 of them at this curb. Look how far strap-on is away from that curb. Look at where Charles Leclerc is as we go back round this curb. There, them 2 orange markers. So you telling me, oh, when you've got a car there, you have to hug the apex. You have to make sure you hit that curb. Because that's what your excuse is for Cops, isn't it, strap-on fanboy? You're demanding that Lewis Hamilton has to hit that apex, and if he doesn't, then he's at fault for a crash. Well, at that corner, Max Verstappen didn't hit an apex and there wasn't a crash. Why wasn't there a crash? Because the driver on the outside stayed wide and yielded. That's why there wasn't a crash. Under the rules of engagement, he shouldn't have had to do that. The driver on the inside did something that you're not allowed to do under the rules of engagement. He had to yield. But Max Verstappen is so uncompromising that he never does. Because there's a word for that, and it begins with C. Anyway, a final run through of the onboards, going down towards Copse now. Firstly, from Hamilton's perspective. So this time, remember the corner we've just seen, where Verstappen's on the inside and sees the car on the outside go pretty much a car length ahead of him. Sees the rear tyre of that car come level with its front tyre. They're about level. You just heard that engine note change in Lewis's car because they've come out by the 50 and Lewis is now decelerating to make it around that corner. As an 8-time world champion and winner of 104 Grand Prix, I would say he's an expert. I would say he is the foremost expert in this entire world. Out of the 7 to 8 billion people that live on the planet, he would be the man most qualified to determine whether or not he's capable of making it around this corner or not. Because he drives that particular machine that he's driving. He knows how that machine feels on that day, with those tyres, with that fuel load, at that speed, going round that corner. He would be the one man in the world that I would trust to make that judgment. But we've got cunts want to say, oh, Lewis, he's carried too much speed and he's understeering. And they don't even know what the definition of understeering is. Understeering is when you want to go around a corner and you put in a steering input and your vehicle carries on in a pretty much straight line trajectory. It doesn't steer as much as you intend it to. We don't get to see whether Lewis's car steers as much as he intends it to, because prior to the corner, the impact occurs. The impact is about to occur right now. You cannot tell from this point at all, nobody can tell from this point whether Lewis Hamilton is going to make it around this corner. But he does, having been hit, and he stays on the track. You cannot determine whether or not he is going to touch this edge of the track where these two orange markers are at what would be determined as being the apex of that curve. People are making it up. They're predicting. But this impact deviates his steering, moving him away from the line that he is on. You look at his steering input right now, you look at the angle of his steering, you look at the trajectory that his car is on. He is decelerating. As he decelerates, do you think that is going to cause understeer? Really? Bang. Movement of the steering wheel, move away from the curb. Back onto Verstappen's car. Look over to the right. Squeeze right again with that input to the steering wheel. Now drifting left to open the corner up as wide as possible. Listen to see if he puts the brakes on. Look at his steering wheel. Let's go back through that again. Look at those steering inputs. chops across Lewis Hamilton. And then you have the collision. In the sprint event, did you see Lewis Hamilton doing that? No, you didn't. Earlier in this lap, did you see Lewis Hamilton cutting across Max Verstappen at that previous corner? No, you didn't. But the strap-on fanboy will want it every which way. When you're on the inside against Max, you've got to back out. When you're on the outside against Max, you've got to back out. But when you're Max, when you're on the inside, you can just fuck it up the inside and just send it. Fuck yeah. When you're on the outside and you're Max Verstappen, you can just fucking send it and the other car has to give in to you. Fuck yeah. No. Kids, you don't understand the rules of engagement. They're there for a reason. They're there for a reason. But what do F1 tell you? What does Sky Sports tell you? Oh, it's fine, everybody. It's just because Max has got this aggressive style. It's got this aggressive style where everybody else has to back the fuck down. Oh yeah, we like the bully. We love the bully. Let him just throw his weight around and everybody else has to back out. No, it's not how it's going to be. I'm actually surprised that none of the other drivers have knocked him the fuck out yet. I mean, I don't know what he was actually like as a person, but from the film Rush, I get the impression that somebody like James Hunt would have probably knocked him the fuck out for driving against him like that. I certainly would have. If that prick would have been driving like that against me, risking my life, I'd have put the cunt through a wall. Simple as that. But you boys love him. The strap-on fanboy loves Max Verstappen. And the show has facilitated him because that's the only way you can actually take it to a driver of Lewis Hamilton's class, by trying to bully him, by trying to drive recklessly and make him have to back out, otherwise you crash into him. That's not motorsport, that's stock car racing. That's the level of talent that this bloke has. He's not a wheel-to-wheel racer, he just doesn't have the talent. But what they do, the commentators of Formula One, they now tell you that that's acceptable racing. They lie to the fans to facilitate the drama. In doing so, they incite these new breed of fanboy, doesn't have a clue what they're talking about. They lie to them, they condition them with bullshit, and those then want to be the ones that cause a conflict, argue for their cause, their desires, their wants, their needs. And it causes conflict within the Formula One community. And the conflict causes more social media traffic, more interest. And who benefits? Who makes more money? Who makes more money? And then they wanted that Max Verstappen, that new poster boy of the sport. They wanted him to be a champion. So they made it happen by fixing the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Criminal behaviour, fraud. They've not been held to account for it yet, but they will be. But what the sport did at Silverstone was it vilified a man. It vilified a man due to this incident, and I'm going to break that down in full in my next few videos, with known dynamics. The week before, we'd seen the Euros, the football championships, where black England players were targeted by racist bastards and picked out for vilification and racist comments on social media. We know about these sorts of dynamics. We know that Sir Lewis Hamilton is the only black man of colour in the sport of Formula One. We know that a lot of people hate him because you're haters. That's on you. You wrongly vilify somebody. You wrongly accuse somebody. You paint somebody as being reckless. What's it going to cause? It's going to cause hate. Sky Sports F1 caused that hate. And they gave a platform to Red Bull in the form of Christian Horner and Jonathan Wheatley to project hate, knowing what it would cause. And that is truly fucking filthy. And there will be a consequence.